Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Rodeo Time, the podcast. It's cold outside, real cold, sleeting. It's about the same time as our, what did they call it, Snowmageddon last year? And so conveniently, today, we have all these things we need to do in the warehouse.
Right, yep.
So we're going to tell some cold weather stories, cold rodeo, cold ranching, motivation of what to get yourself going in the cold. We've got Blythe. Ep.
Whoa, first time.
Blythe,
There's
Ep.
a first time for everything.
Joe
Got it.
and Cole and Donnie are all here. So
Dale talks about his recent acquaintance, Marcus Luttrell.
we're more than an acquaintance.
Bromance.
Sorry. Best friend.
We're best friends.
Yeah.
If either one of us got married right now, I'm almost certain we would be each other's best friend. Even though he's got an identical twin brother who we went to Iraq with, and
Yep, you win. Yeah.
they can literally communicate just in their minds. Okay, he would probably be his best man, but I'd be right after him.
I was about to say, yeah. Dude, he'd probably be the reverend at your wedding.
Oh, I bet he would.
I bet you he'd do that if you asked him.
And if it was close enough.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't doing anything that day, and I would probably have to pay him an obnoxious amount of money.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm just,
Naturally.
I don't
Best
think
friends.
he knows we're best friends. He doesn't know that. So
I don't know.
I'll
Yeah.
just say that.
I don't know. He said that pretty early on. He was like, I'm going to get your number. He says, I'm going to check up on you. And so.
That's right.
Yeah. I have lots of best friends that I don't check up on. So.
And then
Sorry.
we also give Cole a hard time in this podcast, which you cannot give Cole Snyder a hard enough time. Believe me. Like he just,
You're like,
and the jokes just never stop coming. Like he just like gives you layups, you know?
I get that a lot, actually. You're not the first one. My girlfriend says the exact same thing. She's like, you cannot break down his ego enough. It's like, oh.
You don't get offended over anything. Like, I remember the first week that you were here, you were like, I think you said something and like you thought I was offended, which I don't get.
Yeah.
But you were like, oh yeah, I never get offended. And I was like, oh, okay.
We'll
and
see.
you don't at all.
I think it's just kind of unmanly.
I feel like that moment in 300 where he's like, let's put that name to the test. Now that I've known you've said that, let's put this man to the test.
Words.
I'm going to take that as a personal challenge. Honestly.
Kind of like Michael Jordan in what's the series called that he did?
300 or
No, Michael Jordan. What's the
the
series
basketball
called?
player?
Yeah, the basketball.
What,
player.
like Mike?
The Last Dance.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Last Dance. He said, and I took that personally. I said, Donnie just. Cole said, I can't get offended, and Donnie said, I'm gonna take that personally.
Man, I get it light here. I've worked at some places. Granted, like I've never been a good cowboy or rancher. I've always been terrible at it.
No,
so
we
it's
know.
like, but then also it's like, man, if you're not getting made fun of, that's when you know people don't like you because,
if you suck and they don't say anything,
right. Then you know it's like
or you just really, really suck.
Right.
And they don't want to.
It's like,
It's one of two things.
But, yeah.
Either they don't like you or you're literally so bad
Right.
they don't want you to get depressed. Because I've been in both situations.
Right.
So, but I've also got situational awareness enough to know.
Yeah. Well, another thing we talk about in the podcast, was like quoting movies. One of my favorite quotes is from Dumb and Dumber when he's like, "You got fired from your job? What a pathetic loser!" I've been filming my buddy Rope and he'll miss, and I'm just like, it just did me in the camera. What a pathetic loser to miss that. It's like, yeah, you have to, like, it all comes out in the wash, man.
Yeah. Now on to, let's thank our sponsors: American Hat, Rock and Roll Denim, Can-Am Side-by-Sides, Total Feeds, and Excalibur Containers.
Right.
You can move into the 20-footer?
Man,
I have to decide right now.
I went up there to use the facilities, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty warm up there. It was pretty warm, and it'd be nice not to wake up with spiders one of these nights. There's a lot of spiders in there.
Spiders in the winter?
In the
bunkhouse.
In the bunkhouse, yeah.
He's in the bunkhouse right now. It's a very old.
Yeah.
But the wow. Whoever edits this, turn that down.
I can do that.
Anyways, we've got a 40-footer, a 20-footer, 40-footer, and a 45-footer. Right now, the 20-footer's open.
Right.
Or we bring on another intern. We do need a green thumb. What?
I'm sorry. I feel really bad about the air horn.
Oh, you still feel bad about the air horn?
20-footer's nice. The 20-footer is nice. I love that big old porch too.
During the summer, it'd be fun.
Yeah, it's my goal to pee off that.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
you will
I'm under
definitely
that.
want the 20-footer come summertime,
It's got air conditioning there, doesn't it?
and it's way better than the bunkhouse.
Yeah. I like being at the ranch though.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
Well,
that's
ride it out as long as you can,
Yeah.
but you're gonna want it come.
yeah. All right. Good to
Anyway.
know.
All right, now on to the podcast. Rodeo. I thought it was in your lap. I was about to say, you are ready. Is it everyone's just right ear?
No, mine's good.
Yeah, I've got both of mine.
Is it the headphones? No, we don't have to. No, we can switch back if you want. No, you don't have to, Blythe.
I'm used to this. I edit left ear.
So we are talking today about, I don't know what, but we've got the whole team here. We've got Cole Snyder, Jordan Halverson, Blythe.
What's my last name?
Epstein.
It starts with an E. Epperson.
Epperson?
Blythe Eep. Ep.
No. Yeah.
Ep. Her nickname is Beep Beep, and so I sometimes say Eep. Anyhow,
Yeah, I did not know you didn't know my last name until like a couple weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? I've been here for 6 months.
well, that's kind of like average. I don't think I knew Nick's last name till after he was gone. Jordan's, it took me a while to learn Jordan's.
And you called me Joe for a year.
Yeah,
Still do.
I call Cole, I've only called you Lane a couple of times.
Yeah, but it only takes once.
Yeah. To hurt your feelings.
Yeah, pretty spot on. I'm kind of a soft-spoken dude most of the time, so yeah.
Yeah,
First week,
Soft spoken.
first week I was here, I was like, just trying to do everything, and then I don't know the subtle jokes about like, yeah, you're just kind of riding off your brother's coattails, and I was like, they made that joke enough.
Yeah. So all these people are here. I know all their last names, and it's February 23rd. Speaking of February 23rd, and podcasts, the Marcus Luttrell, Dale Brisby podcast came out this morning.
Team Never Quit.
Team Never Quit is look up Team Never Quit on iTunes and Spotify. It's also on YouTube. It didn't release on YouTube today. I think it comes out at a different date on YouTube. But anyway, yeah, 2-hour conversation that Melanie Luttrell was on there too, Marcus's wife, as well as David Thornberry, one of Marcus's best friends. So really interesting podcast we got to do. He and I are best friends now.
Naturally.
He made the mistake of giving me his cell phone number.
You want to come over and play G.I. Joes?
Yes, but only because he's seen me like tag him in pretty much every post I've made since then, and I text him every day. And no, I did. I have asked him a few times. Asked him a few questions via text, and yeah, we're best friends. That's what best friends do, right? Yeah. Sometimes it takes him 2 or 3 days to respond, but
Hey, you up?
exactly. Yeah. So go on their podcast. Go on Team Never Quit. Check it out. Listen to that. Great conversation. The first thing that was asked was it was from their Patreon listeners. They at the beginning of each podcast they do a question from the audience, and it was, "What is your bucket list item?" So Do you have a bucket list item, Cole?
Gator roll across a highway.
With a gator?
No, just like lay down and just roll sideways across the highway.
I feel like we can make that happen.
I'm just kidding. That's not actually on my bucket list. No, it is. It's to kill a buffalo a horseback. Yeah, that's bucket
I
list.
feel like both of them are attainable.
Yeah, they really are. I've been putting in for buffalo tags for a while.
Here on Radiator Ranch.
Yeah, I've always just thought. Well, and I had a boss and everything, and he just thought it'd be like, yeah, we could make a lance, and then it just kind of started snowballing, and just like, oh my gosh, I have to do this one day. So it's like, as soon as I draw a buffalo tag, yeah, I'm gonna run a buffalo down with a lance,
With a spear?
Think how awesome that would be.
I don't feel like it would be as I wouldn't want to kill him with a spear.
Well,
Personally.
yeah,
I'm just saying personally.
Fair enough.
Have
Yeah,
you ever shot a gun off like a horse?
yeah. I went to a mounted shooting thing once back in high school, and it was cool. It's just I don't know. It's just not really my thing.
Spears are his thing.
Spear, yeah,
Spears.
more of a primitive type guy. Yeah.
What's your bucket list item, Blythe?
It was to ride bull. Already been there, done that. Didn't ride it. Fell off of it. But
Got on twice though.
yeah, fell off twice though.
Right.
I don't know. Probably. I want to go deep sea fishing and actually catch something, and not like want to throw myself overboard again. Because we went on a double red flag day, and I was
No thanks.
no.
I'm staying on the dock. If it's like that, like it better be like glass for me personally, for me to go out.
Have you ever been out?
No. I mean, I went on a cruise once with my family when we were like kids, but not kids, but a long time ago. And I didn't get too bad seasick there, but it was pretty smooth sailing the whole time, pun intended. What about you? What's a bucket list item for you, Jordan?
I don't know. I've always wanted to go. He mentioned buffalo, and I want to enter that bull riding that's in New Mexico,
Uh-huh.
where they actually have a buffalo riding. You
Yeah.
put your bull rope on a buffalo. So like,
Is that in Winter Rock?
I thought it was in Gallup,
I don't
New
know.
Mexico.
What's your bucket list item, Donnie Ray Daytona?
Be blonde for a day.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm just thinking rodeos, like Cheyenne,
Yeah, bucket list
Pendleton.
rodeos. Yeah,
those kinds. That's what's on my bucket list right now.
yeah. Mine was noodling.
Mm.
Yeah, and like it was legitimately on my bucket list. Like if the word bucket list came up, the first thing I would think of was pulling a catfish out of the water
Right.
with my arm, and I've already got it down. I've pulled very large catfish, at least larger than the ones Donnie's pulled out of the water.
Mm.
And so yeah, I don't know. I need a new bucket list thing. I've accomplished everything there is to accomplish in the bull riding world. I'm the greatest of all time there.
Literally nothing more.
Yeah. I'm Marcus Luttrell's best friend. I've noodled a catfish.
It's a pretty full life,
Pretty
right?
full
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like we're talking to one of those guys off of Secondhand Lions, right? Yeah.
that's me.
What about the skydiving?
Oh,
I don't want to do that.
But you
Like,
would do it.
I might do it. We're going to Fort Benning, Georgia to do some filming this summer. I might do it there, but I just
But it's not.
it's
not on
yeah,
the
it's not a
list.
bucket list. Like if I decided not to do it, like I wouldn't feel like I was a failure. So
What if you're in the plane, about to jump? You're like, I don't know. Would you feel like a failure then?
Yeah.
yeah, no, if I'm in the plane, like if I'm in the plane, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, once I do that, once I strap on the parachute, like I'm part of Team Never Quit. Okay, like we're gonna circle back to that. You know, when your best friend is Marcus Luttrell, you can't back out of skydiving once you're in the plane. That's kind of like a rule of thumb that, you know.
Don't even get in the plane.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, up to getting in the plane, anytime before I get in the plane, I have the right to quit. That's what the rules say, at least. The ones I made up in my head. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. You're part of Team Never Quit, and you're talking about quitting before you even get started.
Well, you're not. It's not quitting if you don't get started.
Oh, so never try, never fail. One of those things.
Listen, Cole.
I'm just saying. I'm sorry.
You can only ride Lane's coattails for so long.
Well played. Well played.
Anyway, cold weather ranching. How cold does it get in North Carolina?
It'll get down to like the teens, but I don't remember it getting any colder than that. Like,
Does it snow up there?
Occasionally,
Yeah.
not very often. And if it is, it's like an inch or two, and the whole, state shuts down.
Mm.
Can't
What we
go
had
anywhere.
today.
Yeah, we'd be shut down. All the bread would be gone, all the milk would be gone, and you would be sitting at home with not even a quarter inch of sleet on the ground.
Yeah, the commute's pretty bad from the warehouse to my container.
Yeah.
I barely made it today.
Almost 12 feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yours
Of
further
snow?
down. Yours closer up. Yeah. So, it's pretty cold outside today. That's why we're inside filming. I wanted to go outside and film, but everybody was like, no, don't, Dale, don't do it. We don't want to. And especially Cole. So Cole can't handle the cold.
Yeah.
So
It's really just, strong. One of my biggest weaknesses, really. Yeah. That's why I came to Texas. That's why I didn't pack any warm jackets when I came down here.
You actually did it?
No. I was thinking like, it'll be like sunny 75. I said explicitly several times, no, worst, at least to get out of the cold weather, for the winter. And then, like the third day I was here, I was just like, couldn't feel my hands. I didn't bring insulated gloves, long johns. I brought one pair of wool socks.
you also flew down.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you have a vehicle?
Yeah. I got a 2015 Chevy Equinox, real nice. Got Sirius XM.
Would it not make it? Why don't you want it down here?
Well, when I first came down, it was just like, I still didn't really know what to expect. And I was going to be leaving right away. So I was just like, well, I guess I'll just fly down just to see what it is. And
You didn't think you would make it this long?
I didn't know if you guys would
might
like me.
get fired pretty quick.
Yeah,
I'm just
I was
gonna
like-
fly down and test it out.
Set yourself up for success.
That's not what you did, though. Sounds like you were almost quitting before you got started.
Well, I wasn't sure I didn't know if people would like me here.
My, how the turntables.
I didn't know what to expect, but yeah, no, I have a car. I have a soccer mom rig.
But we don't like you here, and you're still here.
Yeah, right. Now it's just out of spite, really, to prove a point.
Donnie is just chomping at the bit over there to give Cole a hard time. No, you like other people giving him a hard time? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy because y'all kind of look like, if you had the same color of hair, you could be brothers. You're
don't
about the
see
same
that.
height. You talk about the same. I don't know. Y'all could be related.
You do get a lot of
That's-
the movie references. Like we'll reference some movies that apparently only Donnie and I have ever seen, and we'll just be laughing, and nobody else will.
The entire flea market is in a battle for who's to be Donnie's best friend, but I feel like it might be Cole.
They bicker like they're brothers.
This is from the moment we get here. Yeah.
Y'all giving each other enough hard time.
I just want to take the mic for a second. I like sitting over here without a mic. But the first thing that this guy says to me when he gets here, I was like, man, my arm is sore. And he's like, well, I know it ain't from all the bucking horses you've been getting on. I said, okay, so everything's fair game. Like, I can say whatever I want to this guy, and it doesn't matter. So, but it's been good.
Was that one of the moments where you trying to be a jerk?
No, it was one of those things where I don't really realize. Like I told you the one.
Kind of like what you said about Willie.
Yeah, I told Willie. I just said I was
You
talking
said-
about everybody. Go ahead.
Man, by the way, I just thought, looking at Willie, he was going to be a hand. And then that was it.
Yeah.
That's the end of the sentence.
Willie.
And we all kind of looked around and we looked at Willie and yeah.
And then you were like,
And Blythe, man, you really don't look like you can edit videos.
I didn't say that.
but
I don't know. I did think Willie was going to be super really punchy when I got down here. I don't know. Just by the way, Willie's a good looking cowboy. He really is. When he's wearing his hat and his denim shirt, you'd be like, oh, that guy right there. And well, yeah, then you get but
Well, he's just not experienced yet.
that's it. He tried. Yeah, he tries hard, and he'll learn anything. I didn't mean it like I was trying to put him down, but he instantly took it. Man, I'm sorry I disappoint you all the time, Cole. Like, no, you never have.
And Sweetheart Willie just
Yeah,
goes to
he's-
apologizing.
I did
So hard on himself too.
Yeah.
All the time.
I've done that a lot. I was teaching this guy how to run a cutting torch, my buddy Luke Peters, and I was showing him how to run a cutting torch, and he was doing good. And then I just went doing something else, and I was like, "Yeah, man, just like you're doing awesome. You're picking this up real fast." And I just look away, and then over my shoulder, I just yell, "Yeah, really, anybody can pick this up, you know." And he had stopped me like, "Oh, thanks," for just taking back the compliment. I was like, "No, I didn't mean anybody can do it. I just meant I do that a lot."
We always know what you're thinking.
We were at the because he just says it.
Yeah.
We were at the national high school finals, and we had a booth there. And well, backing up, there's a story that Todd Snyder tells about meeting Jerry Jeff Walker, his hero. Todd Snyder is an artist and a musician, and he gets to meet Jerry Jeff Walker, and it's in this. He tells the story really well, but the point is whenever he does get to meet him, he tells Jerry Jeff, "This is the highlight of my life," and Jerry Jeff says, "You must have had a pretty boring life so far, kid." And it's funny the way Todd Snyder tells it. Anyhow, we love the story. We always share it. It's on a YouTube video when we're driving long drives. And so anyhow, Leroy and I were at this booth at the high school finals, and this high school kid hangs out with us all day and kind of around the booth. And I think he helped us maybe pack up or something. But at the end of it, we were like, "Hey, you want to go to dinner with us?" And he was like, "Oh my gosh, yes." So we get to dinner. We go to Old Chicago or something. And it just so happens where he's sitting in between Leroy and I. And he's like, "I just can't believe this. I've been hanging out, and now I'm eating with Dale Brisby and Leroy Gibbons. This has got to be the best moment of my life." And just immediately, without hesitation, I said, "You must have had a pretty boring life so far, kid." and he goes, "Yeah, it's been pretty boring." And I was like, no. It's a quote. I didn't mean it like that. And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I'm sorry." But it was one of the but that you just can't, as a movie line reciter, you cannot miss those opportunities for just the most perfect.
Right.
We had a heifer in the pen once, number 22 or something, and my old man showed up mid-morning. He was like, "Where's 22?" And I said, "She fell in with a bad bunch, and we had to hang her." And he said, "Okay, fair enough."
Yeah. No more questions.
Then Pony Boy, who you know,
Yeah.
he came back
Right.
and came down there for a few months, and he got in super late, so I was out ranching hard, heavy ranching. I was out doing something. I don't know. Anyhow, when he woke up, got in at like 3 a.m. So when he got up and around, it was like 9 o'clock, and Leroy brought him out, and Leroy yelled, "What you say, Captain? Didn't I find a prodigal?" And I said, "Yeah, but it wasn't in no church house."
He didn't get it.
A Lonesome Dove, another very applicable. Lonesome Dove quotes, when applied in real life scenarios,
Are always applicable.
golly, what did... Oh, that's what whenever my old man died, I called Garrison and to tell him.
Mm-hmm.
And he responded with the Lonesome Dove quote. And it was, I was best man in his wedding. He's one of my best friends of all time. So, like, it was the exact thing I needed to hear in that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. "I guess gonna want some big fancy funeral," is what he said. At the end, right before Gus dies. Yeah. Anyways, but he knew it would cheer me up. But I thought it was funny. Like, later on, I got off the phone and I was like, "That's a friend. If he knows to say a movie quote whenever you call to tell him that your dad just died, that's like, he knows you pretty well."
Oh yeah.
Anyhow. Anybody else got any like very applicable movie quotes in life?
No.
feel like they're Donnie. I'm sure you have some.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Pass him the.
Donnie's always got.
Easy on the mic there, Joe.
I don't know about like just a specific one like that, but I've been known for quoting movies for a long, like through high school. I would quote movies that were old and people had probably never seen my age, and they were like, I'd be like, we'd be at football practice. I might say something like from Lonesome Dove, and they'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? Football was good. I quoted Waterboy a lot. Like we'd be lining up on defense. I'd be like 62. I don't know if you've seen the movie. I don't know. I don't have any like what you do. That was pretty deep.
Yeah, but there's probably some Office ones that we've done.
Yeah. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I still don't get them.
I'm just so floored.
We go through spurts though, like where we use the same one a lot. Like, hadn't seen the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Which is an Office quote.
That's a pretty recent one we've been using.
Ever since they took it off Netflix, Gabe he's the best at it. Gabe might be better at putting Office quotes into real life than Garrison is at putting Lonesome Dove into real life. They rival each other. Anyhow, ever since I took it off Netflix, we've probably lessened our Office quoting for the day.
Right.
It's on Peacock.
Only the first 2 seasons for free. And you got to pay for it. What questions do you have for us?
Yes. Okay. So, how do you stay motivated in terrible weather conditions?
Talk to us, Joe.
So a lot of times, like for me personally, like I struggle a lot with getting fit, I think, during like the cold months, because like you are less likely to just get up out of a warm blanket on the couch to go work out. So, and a lot of times I'm hurt during the winter time. I don't know why that is, but generally I'm usually pretty crippled.
That's the best time too
Yeah.
for rodeo cowboys.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know, just staying like making goals and stuff like that, just, put some motivation behind like actually getting up and going and do something even though it's like freezing cold out.
So, what are your goals right now?
Well, one of my goals right now is like I want to win the women's series this year. Like I want to be that, and then like just having a full season, like going the whole year, as
As healthy as you can.
Yeah, I mean, it's not realistic because it's bull riding, but you can try.
Yeah.
And to keep a 75% riding average. So if so in my mind, like I want to be riding 75% all the time. So if I get bucked off bulls, then I have to go and get on as many jump kickers and ride them until my riding percent is back up.
I like that.
So,
That's a really cool way to look at it. Yeah. So a 75% riding percentage in bull riding, especially if you're talking about just in competition, is very challenging. So like 40% riding percentage in PRCA is, I mean, it's like batting 400, put you in the Hall of Fame.
yeah.
So anyhow, continue.
Yeah, so I wanted to I felt like that would help my mentality even if it was just jump kickers, because like that's just kind of one of the things that they've always said is like, be consistent. And I felt like if I make myself ride better by like consistently riding even like jump kickers with perfect form and making my riding percent higher, it would help translate into better bulls.
Yep.
So that was part of my motivation, was to that's going to help me stay really driven to get fit and be strong. So then I can get on more bulls, because if you're not strong and you can't handle it, then you can't get on more bulls.
Yeah. I like habits and deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I create a habit of doing something, so I have to do something. I have to get myself on a streak of doing something every day.
You've been running to work every day.
Or, well, and so like I have to, for me personally, like I have to get myself into the habit of doing that. And then I have reasons for that. So that's where the deadline could help. If you have a rodeo, usually the most consistent and the hardest work I'll do is when I have a rodeo in sight, meaning like less than 10 days. So that's why it's great. You need to work hard in off season. Like if you don't have a rodeo for a month, but that the accountability of a deadline will really help motivate. So if you can find something to go to, even if it's like a jackpot or maybe it's like a practice pin, if you can find some way to raise the stakes for that way you've given yourself a deadline. Now all of a sudden you can, it's going to, because you've got this, you got to perform. When it's your turn, you have to nod your head on that Saturday night. Like you got to be ready then. You can't say, well, let's come back Sunday. The weather this or the weather that. And the animal doesn't care about the weather. Like when it comes Saturday night at 8:15, and they call your name, you've only got a few seconds and you got to nod your face. So that deadline is coming. And so between now and then, what are you going to do to prepare? So, because and we talked about this the other day, that is a very pure moment. And you can say all that you want. You can talk all that you want. You can post all you want on Instagram that you've been training or you've been working. You can do all the motivational quotes on there. You can tell your buddies this or that. But when that gate opens, that's the most pure moment where it's just going to, the wheat is separated from the chaff, and how hard you've been working and your ability to perform under pressure, those two things combined are going to show. Because I say that the second thing, ability to perform under pressure, is because sometimes you can do all that work, but then you've also got to learn to execute in the moment. All that planning and preparation is for naught if you can't control your emotions. So, but that's another thing you can practice and prepare for, because in the rough stock, those horses, they don't know the difference in a practice pin and the real deal. So if you're like repeatedly getting on in the practice pin, and then you are perfect, practice makes perfect. But whether you're talking about bull riding or, bull riding and life, they're the same things. Like you're able to perform best when you can remove all emotion from it. You get the fundamental down. You're in shape. It is 90% mental, and the rest is in your head. Period. In rodeo, like once you know the fundamentals, and you've got those down, and you're in decent shape, like you can ride, but if you know it mentally, and then you remove emotion, you can ride anything. You can ride anything that does anything, because there's fundamentals that'll. Well, they got into the fence. He took a hard right. There's a fundamental for that. Mm-hmm. This bull has way more rear than he does kick. There's a fundamental for that. So once you get those fundamentals down, it's all about execution. So
yeah, I feel like that's what I'm struggling with right now, is taking the emotion out of it, because I'm coming off of an injury. So like those emotions of like just getting hurt again right now, because like the other day when I got on the R.A. Brown bull, I was not awake those first two jumps. But since I had my fundamentals down, so I just went straight to, like, I was on the drop barrel.
Yep.
So it's just, I need to work on for myself is taking my emotions out of it and realizing that I can ride bulls. Like I am fit, I am healed up. But right now I just, I've got the fundamentals down. That's not my issue. My issue is taking that emotion out of it, like you're saying.
Yeah.
You ever had one of those moments, like right when you're getting down in the chute, and then like you kind of like what Joe was saying, you're not 100% feeling ready, and then something will kind of happen, like you might get delayed a second, and then it'll be like, oh, glad to get that out of the way. Like for me, it was always, I love when stuff goes wrong right before I ride, because then it's just like, I got on this horse.
It was almost like a test run.
Yeah, and it's kind of like getting on a re-ride, sometimes you ride your re-ride horse or whatever, just like awesome. And it's like, oh, just warmed up, loosened up now. Or like at a practice pen, your second horse will always be spot on. I remember this one time in rodeo, I was not feeling ready. I think it was a red-eye rodeo, but anyhow, I was not feeling awake. And I was like, all right, well, go through the motions, like get on him and everything. Like you'll be ready. One jump and you'll be back in it. And I remember as soon as I sat down on this horse, like the horse frogged up and everything in the chute. Anyway, it just flipped me out of the chute.
Wait. The horse
just like buck
frolicked?
Frolicked? What did I say? Frolic.
I think you said frolic.
I think I said flogged.
I think you said frolic.
Not exactly sure.
Is that like a Montana word that guys use for horses? They frolic?
What? Probably.
Like across a... Were you in a bucket chute or were you in a field of daisies?
So there I was, getting on this horse.
I'm sorry.
No.
Continue. Your horse was frolicking in the bucket chute.
Yes, this horse frolics a little too much than little Cole could handle. Anyway, I was just like, I hadn't even got a hold of my rigging yet, and I just fell out of the chute, and I landed in the arena, and it was like, everybody was laughing, because I was like, oh my God, I just got bucked off this horse, and I hadn't even nodded my head. But then I got on, it was awesome after that. It was like, oh, whatever, like, I'm warmed up now. I love when stuff goes wrong right before
It's
you know
like,
it.
yeah, it's kind of like, I really enjoy so there's this video we used to watch growing up. It was called Moon of the Desperados, and there's one little spot in there. It's Calgary. They're filming in Calgary, and some old timers probably know who it is. But anyhow, this bareback horse smashes the crap out of this bareback rider, but he still like reaches up and just dives for his mark out and still gets him. And in that instance, you would have what's called a free roll. Right. You don't have to mark your horse out. You're given a free roll, so you don't have to mark him out. But he does anyway, and I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And watching that growing up, you know, it was just always, like, interesting to me that just, like, for him, getting smashed like that was the first punch.
Right.
You know, that horse punches him first, and then his mark out, and then he builds his ride, and then the horse went on to be a hunk of junk. But the point is like, I would always really enjoy just a good rare out, which is ironic because of what happened to me in Austin. But I enjoy like the first punch, you know, like getting kind of, and then or that instance, like, you know, like something happens, then they're like, all right, roll him, we'll come back to you. You just kind of, then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, now I'm ready.
It's like, oh, like everything, you know, think something went wrong. I don't like strict routines before I get on. Like I just like, I kind of have, you know, the fundamentals down, but I don't like sticking to, because I found that if I had a routine where it's like, all right, I need to do this, you know, 7 times, this 10 times, and all this, if I missed something, because, you know, things happen, you roll, you know, you're going early or anything, and it was all of a sudden like, oh no, my routine's broken. Like I need to do this real quick. And all of a sudden you're taking a long time. For me, you know, I kind of like that fluidity and getting ready, and like, I don't know, it's like your job's to ride him, you know. That's what I was always told. It's like, your job's to ride him.
I can see where you're coming from. I like a routine though.
No, I'm just saying personally, yeah.
I like a routine. Like, I like the timing of, I mean, like, it's never perfect, you know, because one day you might be saddling your horse in the back alley out of a left-hand delivery, and the next day you're in the very front out of a right-hand delivery, and you're saddling. And I mean, like, there's always going to be nuances that I think are different, but yeah. And then maybe, or they end up putting you with the bareback riding, or your, you know, first section of bulls, rather than, stuff gets thrown around, but hang on loosely.
Yeah. Rodeo's cool that, like, you're, like, people teach you how to, like, do it at first. Like, you learn how to do it, but then, like, it's up to you to put in the work, and, like, you're your own coach, kind of, like, yeah, it is freezing outside, but, like, you're still going to get on the barrel, and, like, we're all, like, it's you have to keep yourself accountable.
People will teach you, but, like, there's not, you do have to keep yourself accountable, but, like, a lot of people, you know, your taste in rodeo may, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, this is your first experience with the rodeo, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what we have here is pretty unique.
Yeah, it's like
there are other places, you know, for instance, another place that I grew up around was Branded for Christ. It's a cowboy church between Huntsville and Madisonville, Texas. It's on I-45. Bubba Miller is the preacher there. He's also the rodeo coach at Sam. Well, if you get in that circle, you would have a very similar experience to what we have, even more head of stock to get on it. There's more, like Donnie's buddies with Lefty Holman and some of them guys up there. I'm sure if you're in that circle, it'll be kind of a similar thing. You'll have people helping you. But there's a lot of people that are just like out across the U.S.
like not in groups
that don't have access to stuff like this.
Yeah.
And they only have themselves, maybe a few YouTube videos. They'll go to some rodeos and maybe they run into someone who might give them some advice on the fly. Like, people in rodeo are generous, but on the other hand, like, you know, before I was in Bubba's circles, I was that guy. I mean, I had my old man, thankfully, but you know, some people don't even have that, and they just got to take off down this road of rodeoing without. College rodeos help because there's, you know, usually a college rodeo, there'll be a coach, there'll be other contestants, they might have a practice pen. High school rodeo, sometimes, most of the time you're on your own there. But yeah, essentially the whole thing, there's no coaches outside of college rodeo, like I just mentioned. There's typically no coaches, there's no trainers, there's no cheerleaders. It is all self-motivated, which that part you hit the nail on the head.
So how would you like say somebody starting out that like knows nothing? Like, I mean, I knew nothing before I came here. So
that's the rub. That's why this program we have is so competitive. There's so many people that want to do it because you got to find something like this. You got to find a Bubba Miller and a Brandon for Christ Cowboy Church. You got to find those places. Junior Nagara, you know, he fell in with a couple of team ropers that helped him get to where he is now.
Yeah.
So you've got to find that. You can do it on your own. It will just take you a little bit longer, you know, you got to buy all the equipment, and then all of a sudden you're getting on your practice pins are rodeos that you're entering, you know. So what I would suggest is, if you're young, I would go to high school and college rodeos. You know, if you're that young, go to a school first. I'll go to a school first, and that's where you can make your first connections. You know, SankeyRodeo.com, they have schools. Gary LaFew has schools. There's the Thanksgiving Rodeo School at Stay Smith's place. Survey puts on some buck outs. A lot of stock contractors will put on some schools occasionally. Sankey puts on like 20 schools a year. Gary LaFew puts on 3 or 4 a year. I don't know anybody else that puts on multiple a year. You know,
Cody Custer.
He
does some schools.
He'll do 2 or 3 a year. It seems like, maybe more.
I think he's doing more now than he did
Cody
before.
Custer.
I think Ted Noose does a school.
Lefty and them do some schools. They do that twice a year.
I think they're working on making it
3 times a year. So these are all rough stock. I'm just talking about rough stock. I don't know anything about timed event. So those are probably more prevalent, I would say.
timed events?
Like clinics and stuff like that. And like, I feel like at those you can have more auditors, like where you don't have to have a horse there, or like you can go and listen. But like bull riding, like you're either gonna do it or you're not.
Right. Yeah. The timed event deal though, just because you don't have, you know, the rough stock is and you can probably get better quicker because you can do more runs a day. Like you go to your first school in rough stock, maybe if it's a 3-day deal, maybe you get on 5 or 6 on average. You know, there's other people that'll get on 14 or 15 that, you know, may have a little more lead in their pencil, but timed event, it's less physically demanding. So you might have 60 runs, you know, if you know how to ride a horse. So anyways, I would find a school. But then if you want to make a career out of it, you need to find somewhere where you can do that thing consistently, you know, rope consistently, ride consistently, get on consistently. So you need to just put yourself in an environment where you're immersed in it. So, but that's another, learning it, being a hobby at it, and then making a career out of it. That's 3 different levels.
I think, make friends with a stock contractor.
Stock contractor. I meant to say that too. The only danger there is getting too caught up in production.
Right.
Which is a real danger. I see that so many times. Like stock contractors are the 2 dangers. Number 1, you end up becoming a test dummy to get on colts
Yep.
or young bulls, and now you're getting
Hashtag.
on crap that you shouldn't be getting on. The other thing is you get caught up in production, driving the truck, sorting stock, running a de-rig and shoot, feeding, and it takes away from learning
Right.
your craft. But if you have no other option, it's great.
Right. I no, and you're right. I've been on both sides of that one. I've worked for rodeo companies and
Yeah,
definitely
you cheated on us. You said that yesterday.
what?
What other rodeo companies?
Worked for Jacobs Rodeo Company
Oh.
up north. Yeah, that was what I like cut my teeth on with Dick Lyman. But McMillan Rodeo Company, they're out of Washington. They got me on my first bucking horse, and I was just always but they just liked me because I tried, and they'd call you out and everything. But whenever I'd go to one of their rodeos, I would just always help out. I'd drop flanks and everything, and just try to be nice behind the chutes and everything. And they loved it. And it's not like they're not gonna help you draw horses or anything, but you'd way rather have them on your side than not. And it's like they know where they're going. You can ride, kind of get to follow them around and get you'll know their horses. And they always treated me really well. And that was the best advice I had. Like, they're gonna invite you to practice pens. They're gonna invite you to their rodeos. Like that's damn good.
My suggestion as far as like it would be if you don't have another option.
Right.
No offense to
No,
stock
no,
contractors, but like if you don't have another option, then do that, because you're married to that for that week. You're married to their rodeo, and I'm not just saying that like you only get to go to one rodeo. That is one thing. Like if you're working for that stock contractor and they're going to that rodeo that weekend, you only get to go there. But also like you're helping sort stock on Tuesday to go to that rodeo. You're helping haul that stock on Wednesday to go to that rodeo. You're helping fill up the tack wagon on Thursday to go to that rodeo. Friday, you're going to that rodeo. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're at that rodeo.
Right.
Next Monday, you're coming. See what I'm saying? That's 7 days
Yeah.
that you have to dedicate to production and not your craft. But anyhow, we're beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
There's other situations like, for instance, Rump's story.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Our previous podcast where Rump, that was his only option.
Right.
The other, because he got paid for those 7 days.
Yeah.
He wanted a rodeo so bad, and it just wasn't cutting it. He wasn't winning money steer wrestling. So he's like, well, I'm going to work for this stock contract, Benny Butler, and I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get a consistent paycheck. So that there's moments where, it might be necessary. So I don't want to completely knock it. I'm just the son. I'm just the son of a stock contractor. That's coming from, and my old man was in production. He picked up so like, I guess I'm saying I kind of have a right to say that,
Right.
I'm not just throwing rocks. I saw my old man have a passion for bronc riding, but he got tied up in production and didn't get to.
I had a stock contractor that helped me out a lot. I got in good with him, but he didn't have the production side of that rodeo. Like, he literally just brought the bulls.
Yeah.
So, like, he never needed me to come and help him. And, like, he knew I wasn't ready for, like, the open bulls, but I wasn't allowed to ride in their amateur anymore. So he would bring me a fresh 2-year-old every week that just needed an out, and we'd buck it at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And it was like the perfect medium, because it was like better than what we were getting, like the amateur bulls, but then like it wasn't also so rank it was going to kill me off like what I would have gotten on if I had entered the open at that point in my riding. So like he was a stock contractor that helped me out a lot. He also is the one that, helped me buy bulls too.
Yeah. So there's another, what you kind of remind me of, there's another way is like if you follow a stock contractor. So if you're not working, for instance, what I did with Stace Smith and Mesquite. So like I would help at times. We would go to the ranch, I would go to the schools, but I was always entering Mesquite. I wasn't like on the payroll by any means, but it was like I hung around them guys. I was always there. I might get on a mount out one night and then be entered the next night or vice versa. And so that would allow me, I became familiar with anything that had an SS on it. You know, like I knew.
Careful with that sentence.
Exactly. I was about to say, Stay Smith. Stay Smith. That's what the SS means.
Anything.
Not anything. So anyways, like I became familiar with that stock. And so that was a big, that I enjoyed. But I also enjoyed their stock, so it was, a win-win. So, but that's kind of the progression. You got to find a way to get on. You can read about it, you can watch videos about it, you can listen to podcasts on it, you can dream about it, but you got to eventually you got to get on. And so you got to find a place where you can do that often.
Who's like I remember I read my dad always looked up to this guy John Smith. Or he was just an old school bronc rider from back in the day. And there were a lot of guys that my dad ended up traveling with, but he always talked about like you always got to get in with an old timer. Like they know what's going on. You end up riding with them. And like for me, it was this guy Sylvan Lacrosse. Like he put on a school, and like it was just kind of one of those deals. I'd always meet up with him, and he'd kind of just not like help me out. It wasn't like he was, we were working with each other every day or anything like that. But it was just always, it was like having a buddy. Did you have one of those who's like an old time besides your dad, like that you kind of might see at rodeos and everything, help you out or help each other out?
That like specifically is an old timer or was an old timer?
Just a guy who had more experience than you when you were starting. Like,
Yeah, so like my old man was, but when he passed it was Jacobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I leaned on Jacobs pretty heavily.
Right.
And pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
I owe a lot to him for what knowledge I have there. Just because, for bull riding, it was just like God put it on my DNA, so I just had that. I didn't need help there.
Boy was born with a fistful of bull rope.
But no, and then also Lyle Sankey.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of those schools. I fought bulls, and so in bullfighting it was Corey Wall and Benny Patrick. But the bull riding career for me was a lot smaller than my other stuff. Riding bulls and broncs was my main thing. For bareback riding, Clint Cannon was a huge help. Like that's my dog.
Yeah.
In the bareback riding. And then Ross Sherrod, he's been on a podcast, but I would say the person that helped me the most in rodeo period outside of my old man was Jacobs Crawley.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So, and those circles, like his brother Sterling and Dean Wadsworth and those kind of guys, they were always, around and helping. Bubba Miller, being down there. But those kind of people are great to have around.
Yeah. Well, you need somebody to pull you up.
And then it's crazy because like, Jacobs said a lot of the same things that my old man was saying.
Right.
But he just said them in a different way, or maybe I had like not listened to my old man in a certain, and just when he said it a certain way, it just clicked differently. You know? Same thing with Clint and bareback riding. Mm-hmm. I might hear Stephen Anding, Big Steve. He almost made the NFR a couple times, but you'd hear somebody say, and then they say it a completely different way, and it just registers different. So. Yeah. I think it's great to have somebody to help model your stuff after. Mm-hmm. And then, you've got to put your own little
twist on it.
And I don't think it's necessarily a twist,
but
because maybe style of doing it.
Right.
And a way that you communicate it to yourself. Because at the end of the day, like a fundamental is a fundamental.
Right.
Like you got to lift.
Yeah,
you gotta go to the front in the bull riding.
Yeah.
Like you can't live behind your bull rope in the bull riding.
Right.
You have to go.
Yeah.
Like you might say it a different way. You might tell your body to do it a different way than like what JB says. But you gotta do it.
It's like
the same thing.
It's how your brain gets there. Like what I mean.
Like, you got to find that for you. Like how do you? It's not necessarily that you might be saying something different, but you got to tell yourself.
Right. Yeah.
However you need to word it to yourself to get it done,
essentially.
But yeah, and then so anyhow, because you can have the best. I mean, like, because Willie got instruction from JB, doesn't mean Willie's going to the NFR, and going to be a world champion.
And we're just really ragging on this podcast, aren't we?
I think Willie absolutely. I'm saying like Willie's got to do it. Now.
Yeah.
He's got to apply it.
Right.
He's got to, and he can receive it and believe that JB is telling him the truth, but he's got to now execute like we were talking earlier. So I personally believe Willie has the ability to do that.
Right.
So I think everybody on our team has the ability to accomplish those things. I don't think we don't have anybody that's just like, because otherwise I would discourage them. You know what I mean? I really would.
Right, yeah.
This is a dangerous thing. Like if we had somebody on our team that like was like, you know,
Just
like,
wasn't, yeah.
Carlos, what if you tried to be a funny man? You know, like like that. That's what I would say,
Right.
if I thought that, but
Yeah.
I don't. So.
Just hide his bull rope all the time.
Yeah.
What about cold weather rodeos?
Hate them. I hate going to them, but I will go to them.
They're not fun.
Like, they're, you know,
Yeah.
the
What
ground
about
hurts.
rain?
Rain? Some of the rodeos that I've entered that it's been raining, you know, you got your trash bag out there and you've got it wrapped around your bull rope. Doesn't always help, but like there's been some times where I would start some really good bull rides and it'd be pouring down rain and I'd lose my bull rope.
Yeah.
But
I was at a college rodeo in Huntsville and it was raining. And of course, usually when it's raining, you get cold unless it's August, but it doesn't rain down here in August much. Anyway, and I looked around and I was like, everybody hates this.
Right.
So I was like, that means I need to love it. So like I really try to convince myself that I love it just because everyone else hates it and it gives you a competitive
Right.
advantage. But at the end of the day, in rough stock, like you got to compete against that animal. So it sometimes it doesn't necessarily always matter what other people are doing, except unless at the end of it kind of does though, because if people have a bad enough attitude, doesn't matter how good they can ride, they might ride poorly.
yeah,
But
I can remember one time it was pouring rain. I drove to West Virginia, so I was 8 hours away from home, and it was pouring. Like it was soaking wet. Like it was flooding. It was bad. Like they almost canceled the rodeo, but I was like, I'm getting on my bull. Like
Right.
I'm gonna get on. I don't care.
Where was this?
In West Virginia.
It rains a lot up there around
Yeah.
y'all, doesn't it?
Yeah, it rains a lot. So like I drove 8 hours and I was like, I'm getting on my bull. I was like, I don't care like if y'all are gonna cancel it or not. But they ended up they canceled everything else, but because I was like, no, we're bucking bulls, like this is fine. That we ended up having the bull riding, but I lost my bull rope.
Dang.
Bull goes out there, turns back to the left. I make like 2 rounds on him and then
Yeah, that soapy glycerin works great until you add moisture to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Did you find it?
what?
Did it like sink in the mud?
I mean, yeah, it took a minute. That bull was really mean, so I had to wait for him to leave because
He's
I wasn't gonna.
He's saying you lost your bull rope.
Oh yeah, no, I lost it. I had to go find it. It was muddy.
You did actually lose it,
Yeah.
not just like
No, the mud was like this thick.
yeah.
Bad.
You guys ever seen videos of the Miles City bucking horse sale?
Yeah.
And there's like just a foot of mud out there and everything, and it looks. I remember, for a long time it was my goal to ride there, and it would still be cool. But man, every time I've gone there, it just looks like the most miserable. Like no part of that looks fun.
Yeah.
You know?
I do think I think it's okay to get picky in the practice pen with rough stock for 2 reasons. Number one, you got to consider all the people helping you. But then the other thing, which I don't know. I'm back and forth on this one. I think when you're learning, you know, let's make sure, let's get things as kind of halfway as close to
Right.
being right as you know, if you're getting ready for, you know, there'll come a certain point when you need to know how to be aggressive.
Right.
So if it's your 10th bronc or 10th bull, I say let's get it right. Let's wait till you can be at your 100%. If you're at 110 or 210,
Tough it out. Yeah.
let's tough it out.
Right.
You know, because you know how at that point you know how to be aggressive.
Right.
Because in bronc riding, bull riding, like that aggression and offensive attitude keeps you from getting hurt.
Right.
You know, when you give up, that's when you get hurt. If somebody doesn't know how to try, that's when you just like slump off
Just
into
give
the
up,
well, or you just fall off and hang a stirrup, or that's what makes me nervous about, for instance, like 4-year-olds on mini horses,
Right.
you know, because they don't know how to try.
Right.
Some of them, they don't even know how to, you know, they'll black out
Right, yeah.
and then just like slump off of something, which it's fine on a baby calf.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, ka-ding, 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 ka-ding. But a mini horse, he gone.
Right.
There's been times though, like I'll push myself in the practice pen, like if I'm getting ready for something for sure. Like, all right, I'm gonna get on one, and if I don't ride good, then I'm gonna have to get on another one. So you might as well just ride really good on that first one and then be
Yeah.
tuned up and then not have to get on a second one. So like I think that brings into that like aggression, like be really good on your first one in the practice pen when it's cold or a little
Yeah.
wet, then you don't have to get on anymore. I mean, that's what it's going to be like if you go to a rodeo.
Yeah, that's the
Like,
one
Yeah.
that counts. Yeah.
That is the one that counts.
Right.
But you better get on your, if you don't ride that first one good, you better get on again and fix it, which means you're
Right.
going to be out there longer. That's how I see it.
Yeah. No, that's a really good. It's bull riding, bronc riding. Yeah, like I feel like if everybody could get on a warm up bull or bronc at the rodeo, that second one's going to be out of this world. But you can't.
Right.
And so you've got to get yourself going 100 miles an hour or whatever mile per hour you need to be 90 plus points. You got to go there without getting on a practice
Yeah.
bull or bronc.
Cold bore
First.
accuracy. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to go 0 to 60 because that's what the bull or horse is going to do,
Right.
no matter the conditions. But ranching is different.
Yeah. Anybody can be a cowboy when it's sunny. That's what I always say. Is like, man, anybody can be a cowboy when it's sunny, 75, and your horse is broke and the ground is flat. And
Well, it's easier. I guess I'm saying it's different just because like you can put on more layers
Yeah.
and you can ride your good horse that day.
right.
Like I'm going to leave the colt at the house and I'm putting on my prairie pants even though there's no trees.
I worked with this guy. I don't remember if I told this on the last podcast, but Brian Smith. And Brian was from Texas, and he was working at the Dragon Y with me. And Brian was feeding in the tractor, and he just said, when he goes, I don't know if it's an educated opinion, but I don't think this climate's made for cattle. And he says, I've been worked at some places where if it was this cold, we just do our chores and go home. It's like, well, Brian, we're on a cattle ranch in the middle of Montana. Like, we still have to work. And I always thought about that.
Yeah, Montana, you probably had a lot of difficulties. I know this morning you were talking about just how cold it got there.
It's a totally different cold, though. Like,
Dry
like-
cold.
yeah, it's easier to deal with. It'll
Than
be
here?
cold. Yeah, here there's a lot of humidity.
Uh-huh.
Like, it is. I'll get chilly down here, but yeah, up north and everything, it's like, yeah, you just put on a couple extra layers and it's a lot easier to deal with. Like your face.
Especially
will
if
get
the
cold.
wind's not blowing.
Yeah. Well, you got wind shear. It's just I think it's just better prepared. I think that's all it is. Like you already know it's going to be cold. So
Yeah, you're just like when you step out of the house here and one day it's 75
yeah,
and then the next day it's like it is now.
it's terrible. Yeah.
It's just like you just weren't mentally ready for it to be this cold today.
no.
So it sucks more.
Yeah, we talked about that this morning. I was like, it wouldn't be so bad if we could get acclimated to it.
Right.
Like
Still
acclimated.
acclimated, yeah.
whatever.
Acupuncture?
Yeah, acupuncture.
If only
If we could get
Yeah.
acupuncture every
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
But-
I don't know.
Like-
Once you get moving though, yeah. The first 20 minutes is what sucks. Once you can get moving and get trotting and get your blood pumping,
Yeah.
then it's way better. But
But you prefer the hot versus the cold.
absolutely.
See, I guess we might as well bring this debate up here then.
You can live.
I prefer the cold because I know as long as I get moving, I'll start to feel better. But when it's hot, like I don't know how to. You just stop moving. Just find yourself a shady spot. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's not.
Cole
not my
could
thing.
never imagine
But
stop moving.
The ground gets hard when it's cold. And I don't want to hit the ground.
I
when
just-
it's,
you can't really stop moving. You can now, granted, I mean, there's a reason we have lights,
Right.
and it's because in August at 2:00 we ain't bucking no stock.
Right.
It needs to be evening for
Yeah.
the animal's sake, for our sake. I remember when Jared Outlaw, he got 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and so he came to get on a bull to
Yeah.
celebrate 1 million. And it was, I don't think it was August, but it was like September 1st.
Yeah.
So still stupid hot. And this joker, like, he got on his bull. Well, then we buck a few more bulls. Cody Webster fights one, freestyles one on the beaches, and like he's in the house.
Yeah.
Like he had to go in. It was like bothering him so bad. I anticipate you being like that.
It very well maybe. I'm not tough.
I'm not saying you're gonna go. I'm just saying I think it's gonna bother you like that.
Yeah.
Like so yeah, that might be the moment that tests you the most.
We'll see. I'm not.
because then it's all going to mount up on you.
Right.
You've realized nobody likes you. Oh,
Donnie, no comment.
I'm
That'll be
kidding.
the straw that breaks the camel's back.
I'm
yeah.
kidding. I think you'll be fine because we've got it pretty easy. And like cow wise, I mean, like those are the months where typically you try to time it where you are not having calves in August,
Right.
July or August or early September. But the cows, I mean, there's grass and they just kind of do their thing.
Right.
You know, you don't even have to feed them very much. You just check fence every now and then. And with what we do around here, there's a lot of that's when it's light to moderate ranching
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, the media side of things, kind of like today, it's 4 degrees outside. It's sleeting. The roads are icy. And so here we are. You know what? I think we got some things to do inside.
Right. Yeah, actually. Y'all want to do a podcast?
So,
Yeah.
do you have any other questions?
Yes. Childhood or worst winter/summer stories or childhood memories in the weather conditions. Since, I mean, 'tis the season. It's extreme weather conditions for Texas right now.
Yeah.
Outside.
I got caught in a hailstorm once. That sucked.
Was your truck okay?
No, I was outside. I was horseback.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was out in a pasture. It was hailing on me.
Was your
That
truck
sucked.
back home?
I could care less about the vehicle.
How do horses
Making sure.
react? Like
Yeah.
when
Hate it.
if you're trotting along. And
It was
like,
Dollar when he was kind of younger. Like a,
Oh,
like
so
he
when
was
he was
kind
like
of
2
he was
or
kind of
3.
he was bronking around. Like he wasn't bucking. He didn't buck, but
How
he
old
was
were you?
Like 5?
15.
I'd say, what was this, 30 years ago? No, I just make it dollars old, not because
Wonder
you're.
why.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. No, I was 15, 14 or 15.
So 50 years ago.
But yeah, that was. And then last year sucked just because we lost some Kievs. But yeah, Snowmageddon.
Yeah.
So finding frozen babies sucks.
Yeah, I don't know if I could narrow it down to one. I have lots of cold weather stories where it was just crappy.
Well,
Like,
try.
this one isn't even about me. I was working at this place and we had to jingle horses in the morning. Sorry, another Montana word. Or did you say it down here? Okay. You had to go jingle horses in and everything, and it was my boss at the time. His name's J2 Bridges, and he had to go jingle horses, so he took off on the 4-wheeler, and I was just drinking my coffee, and it was pretty cold. Like, rivers are all frozen over, and anyhow, he took off on the side-by-side. And anyway, it usually only takes like 5 or 10 minutes to get the horses in. And, 15, 20 minutes, I'm on my 3rd cup of coffee, and I'm thinking, I wonder if he's all right. So I was like, well, all right, I guess we'll start. So I hop on the 4-wheeler, and I go out there, and I see J2, and he's just walking stiff. And I pull up to him and everything, and he's just like, get to the house. And he was just ice all over him, head to toe. Anyway, the story was he was chasing after the horses, and they had crossed this creek where it was frozen, and he drove across it on the side-by-side, and the creek just fell, went out from under him, and he had to swim out of it, basically, and he was just walking back, and he was just frozen solid by the time I got to him. Yeah. It has nothing to do with me. I mean, it's terrible, but he was fine. Didn't.
Dang.
Yeah. But it was also pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was little, it was pouring down rain. This was like a rain story. And I was tiny. But there was a skunk on our property, and I didn't want it to get shot. So I was like, we have this live trap. So I was like carrying around this like live trap around our farm. I don't know how old I was, but I was carrying this around, and it was pouring down rain, and everybody was inside. They thought I was going to be sprayed, and that I was crazy because who does this?
Yeah.
So I sat it down, and I got some cat food, and I just like stayed there. And then the skunk, I had this video of it because my parents were like inside, like, this is going to be pretty funny when she gets sprayed. So I set it down, and the skunk like comes like hobbling by. He was in the middle of the day, so I think he was like sick anyway. So he comes hobbling by. And then like I set the trap down, and it like closes the latch when he's like right there. And so I was like, I can't move right now. So he came around the trap, and he touched my toe, and he didn't bite it or anything. But as a little kid, I was like, oh no. I was like, Dad, you can shoot him now. It was just scary.
It was raining the whole time.
It was so rainy. Yeah, and the skunk was just out. But it's a childhood memory. But it doesn't rain that
also
much.
raining
It was also raining. Probably had nothing to do with the cold weather, but it was raining.
It had nothing to do with the weather. It barely had anything to do with the skunk.
Okay, I wonder. Okay, no, wait. I wonder if a skunk sprays while it's raining. I wonder if a skunk sprays while it's raining, if it'll still like.
Yeah, it will.
It
Oh
will.
yeah. Oh yeah. I think
Star
it'd probably
gets
be
sprayed.
worse.
This experience.
Cold weather ranching, cold weather rodeoing, cold weather training. Yeah. So that's what we've talked about. Life advice.
Skip me for. I don't know. I don't know about life advice today. I've been slacking. Should have been thinking about that.
Oh, sometimes it might be difficult, but it's not complicated. Don't overthink things. You can really work yourself into a paralysis by analysis mode. We were talking about this about riding horses yesterday, and Blythe was asking questions, and I was just talking, and then after a while, I kind of stopped and I'm like, you know what? Actually, just don't overthink it. Just get it done. It's like I think that's a big thing. Sometimes it's difficult, but it's not complicated. So just roll with it.
What you got, Blythe?
Oh man, Joe, do you?
Yeah. So tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Oh, that's good.
When the going gets tough, the weird go pro.
That's like weather related.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Tough weather.
Man, you're the only person I can, like last podcast, the only person that you should compare yourself to is yourself, and then of that further Jesus. So yep.
Since Marcus and I are best friends,
Yeah.
and
Did he text you actually during this?
Probably. I probably got a couple.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
Marcus. I ain't got time to respond to you just all the time, Marcus. Excuse me. Actually, yeah.
Also, never trap skunks in the middle of the day.
Oh man, that should have been mine. Yeah.
Did
But
you?
anyways, from his book. Sorry, guys. This is my life advice.
You're taking a while.
From his book. It was actually his. No, don't end it. Don't end it, Donnie. It was actually his instructor Reno. He said, the body can do damn near anything. It's the mind that needs training. So that's helped me, especially with cold weather. When I'm trying to like run every day, like the cold weather stuff is just like, your body you're not going to get hypothermia. Just if you're out there running
Or swimming
20
across
degree.
the tank.
Yeah. Yeah, that either. Not if
Yeah.
you're out there for just a short time.
Yeah.
So Lisa's scared though that my body will go into shock and they're going to find me out there.
I was there that one day that you were swimming across it.
You do it
Yeah.
for fun?
Yeah, he did it the next day.
What?
I've done it a few times since,
Yeah.
mainly just because
Does
I don't
anybody
want
know?
to.
That you're out there?
I've
He-
since
yeah.
told Lisa I would text her when I go out there. I don't know if that would help because it doesn't take that long to drown.
Yeah.
Just floating.
But also like, it's
Laugh at it.
Dale drowning. Cole is like, oh.
now I got to get this sappy Instagram post ready.
Great.
Well, I've only known Dale a short
Yeah.
time. The water is waist deep,
Yeah.
and I don't dive into it. I just kind of ease into it, and I go about the length of this room and back.
Do you think it's worse though that easing into water that's freezing, or like just?
No, I've heard it's worse to dive into it. Yeah.
That'll make you go in shock.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
good
think
to
it's
know.
the diving into it. And I've already been out in it, running in it for about an hour. So anyway, I don't do it all the time. Like, it's just like, just go
when you have a
across
death
and come
wish, you
back.
just
It's
yeah.
not I don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, the body can do damn near anything, Blythe. It's the mind that needs
The
training.
mind, yeah.
But maybe I should probably just have somebody around, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm just still thinking about how horrible. I'm not saying I would laugh. It would be terrible. But
He was laughing.
we're having a sale.
You're just,
Cole's like,
I
well,
could just
guess
see
we
you
have
on
to
the
find
tank. We tried to tell him.
Well, because
Guess we gotta.
We tried to tell him.
I always talk about there's a story out of Canada, and this guy goes to the bar, gets drunk, walks home, crosses a river and everything, comes across a beaver dam, and he starts messing with the beaver dam. And he's pretty drunk. Sure enough, a beaver comes out, bites this guy on the leg, cuts his femoral artery. He bleeds out. To a select group of people, that was a terrible story. That was a tragedy. This guy died in the woods. But to the rest of the world,
But to Cole,
it's hilarious that beavers have one confirmed kill, like against humans. In all of human history, they got one. So it's always just a reminder, like, don't be a statistic.
Cole's
know.
life advice.
I'm not like
just keeps going.
I'm not like this swimmer or anything. It's just this thing I saw that I was like, man, I really don't want to do that. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do it anyway,
To
just
train the mind.
just to like make myself do something I don't want to do. I don't know. I think that there's sometimes I hate running. I hate being cold. So like I run and then I jump in a cold pond, and then after that I feel like, all right, life sucks. Can only get better from here.
If you can motivate yourself to do something you hate, like just absolutely detest, like how easy it is to do something that you like.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't do the cold water thing. I take a cold shower because that wakes me up and it helps my mind. But like I don't jump in the tank that
Good
often.
for your hair too.
Maybe 4 or 5 times. But still, like it's just a
It's more than me.
little thing. I don't know.
Is it really better for your hair?
Yeah.
Cold
Being
water.
cold water?
I think
Is that-
that's like one of the few benefits. Like I
Nah,
don't.
That's
I
why your
don't,
hair's so good.
I don't take a cold shower because there's a list of benefits outside of mental.
Fair enough. I'm just saying. But
It is
yeah,
good for your hair, but like
Yep.
I don't care about my hair.
Good for circulation.
I'm sure it's good for circulation. Now, okay, I'll say this. There's probably like the George St. Pierre thing.
Right.
Like he's like an athlete. Like if you sit in a ice bath, what I'm talking about is just quick rinse off. There's no
Right.
benefits for
No,
me to be
yeah.
in a for 90 seconds.
Yeah.
You know? It wakes you up and you hate doing it. That's
Right.
about the only thing for it. You know, that's not long enough to give yourself
Yeah.
a benefit, I don't think. But anyways, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, people, text me 940-353-0890 and go jump in a cold water trough. But text somebody before you do it.